Hi, I'm Darnell with Whale Recipes, and today I'm going to be making a whole wheat spelt light sourdough bread in the Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus bread maker, and so you will know how to make that as well. I've really liked how it turns out, and let's get cooking right now. Alright, so the first ingredient, and I do want to mention you need to put things in the order that I'm telling you. Even if someone says they did it out of order and it worked out, I still say do it in the exact order I am telling you here for the best results. And so the first ingredient is 360 milliliters of water. This is somewhere roughly around a cup and a half, but it's not the same, not exactly. So if you can get something that can measure in this measure of units, that would be great. The Zojirushi comes with a measuring cup that gives you that exact measure to make it easy. So putting the water in, and then our next ingredient, and this is to make the light sourdough starter. Now keep in mind, light sourdough is not traditional sourdough, so don't get that confused. Light sourdough is a common term for one that doesn't use the traditional starter. But our next ingredient is 2 cups of organic whole wheat flour. So you could use non-organic if you choose to, but I'm using 2 cups of organic whole wheat flour here. And so that goes on in there like that. And so our next ingredient is 2 teaspoons of diastatic barley malt flour, and this helps to give it some rise. You could even use this in traditional sourdough starter to help things rise if you feel your dough doesn't cooperate enough on its own. So I use it when I'm doing stuff with whole wheat flour. You want to put it on the sides, so I try and put it, just by my own judgment, evenly on the sides, like so. Next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to take a knife and make a little well here in the middle, like that. Next ingredient is 2 teaspoons of a bread machine yeast, rapid rise yeast, and so that is why, as I said, this doesn't use traditional starter. That's why it's called light sourdough bread, which is a common term for this, as I mentioned. So just making sure that I get all that in. And so with that, we close things up. Alright, so I'm hoping that you can see I'm going to be moving the course up to course number 12. That's for your light sourdough starter. It shows me the time that it's going to end. That's the clock time. That's not hours and minutes. And so it takes a little over a couple hours. They say it should take 2 hours, 10 minutes. So with that, I hit start. And you don't want to have this too close to the edge while it's running, because even though my table is stable and all, just in case you don't want it wobbling off, just in case. So we're going to let this run for its 2 hour, 10 minute run, and then I'll bring you back. Alright, it's finished doing the starter phase, and so now we're going to move on into the next steps. Open up and you see the starter there. Don't go touching that. It's kind of sticky and stuff, and it's supposed to be is the way it is. So I'm hitting cancel just to stop that last phase of cooking there. Next, we put in the next ingredients. Remember to use the order that I'm using. This is going to be 2.5 tablespoons of apple cider vinegar. So I'm putting that in. I put some on the sides, I put a little in the middle, and it starts kind of bubbling like that. After you do that, it's pretty acidic. Next, I've got 1.5 tablespoons of lemon juice. So likewise, put that kind of, I just kind of throw that in there like that. Next ingredient is going to be 3 cups of spelt flour. So we got 3 cups of spelt. This is unified spelt flour from a pretty reliable place, organic unified spelt flour. And so now with that in, next I'm going to use a sweetener. You can use 2 tablespoons of sugar. I'm going to use basically 3/4 teaspoon of organic monk fruit extract powder because it requires a far less amount to equate to like sugar. So it's basically like 6/8 of a teaspoon is what's going in. Just putting that on the sides as well. And our next ingredient is salt. So this is 1.5 tablespoons of sea salt. Putting that in on the sides also. You want things on the side if you're wondering, because once things start stirring, it'll all kind of get mixed in well from the sides. Now I'm using a knife to just kind of make a little well there again. I don't need any more barley malt flour, but I do need 2 more teaspoons of dry active yeast. Bread flour yeast. Can be rapid rise yeast. And so put that right there in the middle. And so with that, I'm going to close up. Now I'm back over here at the display again. I'm going over to course 1. So course 1 would be normally white bread, but that's what we're using for this, and it'll work out fine. I've done this a lot of times and used these ingredients. So I'm using a medium crust. I like a medium crust setting. And this is going to take 3 hours, 25 minutes to complete. So with all that we put in and everything, I just hit start. And so it tells me the time that it'll be finished in 3 hours, 25 minutes. And so I'll bring you back when it's all done. Alright, the time is up. So open up here. Just going to hit cancel to end everything there. But you can see the finished loaf. I'm just going to move things back a bit so that I can get it out onto a little cooling rack. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the bake pan out of here and flip this bread out onto this little cooling rack I've set up here. Get that on out like that. I'm going to turn the bread over. Someone once asked, why don't my paddles get stuck in the bread? Usually they don't. On rare occasion, my paddles will get stuck in the bread, but here are my paddles still there in the bake pan. And it's not a bad thing if they get stuck in the bread. I mean, you just have to dig them out. You know, some of them, I guess, depending on how the paddles are set up and sized for the bake pan, sometimes they might be a little easier to come out into the bread, sometimes not. But it's not like a flaw if they come out in the bread or don't. But if you don't see me, you know, getting paddles out, that's why, because usually my paddles don't get stuck in the bread. That's just the way it is. But we're going to let this sit here and rest. And I just wanted to adjust the camera down a little bit so you could see the full size of it. But we'll let it rest for maybe an hour or so to get cooled down, although I know hot bread is really good and tasty. I mean, I've had it plenty of times. It's much easier to cut once it cools. So I'm going to let it sit here for about an hour. I'll probably just cover it with a paper towel and let it cool for about an hour, and then do some cutting and slicing. Alright, so an hour has passed, so just taking the paper towels off it that were covering it, and see the completed loaf. Looks pretty good. So now I'm going to take it, I'm going to put it into this basically bread slicer, and I'm going to slice it up. Alright, so I've got it all sliced. One important thing about doing light sourdough bread is that you want to have that hard crust like sourdough bread should have. So this has the hard crust and it's crunchy, and so that's very nice. And we see inside, now because I've mixed like some whole wheat and some sourdough and the different mixture that I use, my goal was to not have any huge holes in there. If I used some more water, it would have like some huge big holes in there. But I wanted it to be sourdough, light sourdough I should say, with more of a bread consistency like a sandwich bread would have. So that's what I was going for, and that's what you get here. You've got the hard, nice crunchy crust, you've got a bread consistency, and it does have kind of that kind of acidy type of a sourdough taste to it. So I'm going to go ahead and take a slice, put it on the plate there, and we'll do a quick taste test. So thank God for this bread. Let's go ahead and taste. Let's give you a good look at it. Alright, it's very good. It's got the hard crust, it's got the chewy interior, and it's got kind of that, I guess the best way I can describe it, kind of tangy flavor you get from sourdough bread. It's not full up sourdough, not made with the, traditional sourdough starter fully, but you get a result that is very much like sourdough bread. Some people call it a cheater sourdough, some people call it a faux sourdough, I mean, whatever you want to call it. But it turns out well, and you can do it in the Zojirushi Virtuoso Plus Breadmaker. And so if you see a shop icon anywhere on the video here, you can use that shop icon here on the Wave Oven Recipes YouTube channel. Use that shop icon, and if you use that to buy the product, that does help the channel if you're interested in buying. But nothing in this video is sponsored at all, nothing given to me, no kickbacks or anything else of that sort. And so if you want to help the channel, there's lots of ways. You can also check out my blog, superwaveovenrecipes.com. And in the video description, there's ways like my cookbook, merch, membership, donations, link to the Amazon shop where you pay the same price and help the channel. Also, there are free ways to help the channel, such as giving this video a thumbs up, share the video with a friend, leave your comments, subscribe, hit that notification icon, and good eating.